Howdy everyone. Hope everybody has a great Easter weekend. I was talking with my research partner and we thought we'd do something special, and we decided we're going to share some of the research that we've gathered over the last year. Actually longer than that, but so 2 winters ago, I believe it was in January, I had already been coming back here all the time, but in this plateau here, there was 10 structures came and appeared overnight. That prompted me to do a year-long investigation here every day, 365 days for a year, just to see if we could get to the bottom of it. Some of these back details are important. Some of these structures are still kind of, there's one right there by the river, and there's this one by the fallen tree, and there's several. But I believe it was in February, and if my memory serves me correctly, it was a Wednesday night. I came and I found a structure. This is what's left of it. This was after the 10 came back. I found this structure, and I found a total of 8. Nothing as elaborate as this, but like I said, I know it was a weeknight. It was 7 degrees in February, snow on the ground. I had been here the day before, just before nightfall. A lot of times I did my hike. This was, I go by through here, so it was definitely before dark. I was just coming out, and nothing was here. I come back the next day. Here's all this stuff up here. So what I did is I monitored this and this entire area, about 65 acres through here, for every day, and just kind of watched. I didn't mess with it. I just watched it. And I not only found the structure, but I also found a food stash. The food stash was actually located right here. It was a collection. What it was, you can still see some of it's still here. This is a wild edible. This is a mushroom. That was there. And there was another wild edible. I just picked some on my way up here just so you can see it. It's Christmas fern. It's edible. Now, we have just been through one of the harshest winters that Ohio's had in quite a while, and you can still find this fern. I just picked this today. So this is one of the last plants. It's all over. You can go to any state, it's covered with this fern, and it is edible, and it's one of the last plants to die off. As a matter of fact, this probably won't. It survived the entire winter. So we had the food stash here, and I say a food stash, there's a pile of this and a pile of mushrooms. I was able to track it. I kept finding little morsels of pieces of mushroom, so I just followed it, and down at the end, about halfway down this fallen tree here, was where it led me, and this mushroom was growing on the side of the tree. What was extremely intriguing to me was there was still a stick there that whatever was picking the mushroom off the tree was using a stick to scrape it off the tree, and it was laying right down there. I got pictures of it somewhere. with the mushroom still on it. So, I mean, I guess on a biologist level, I mean, if a chimpanzee uses a twig and sticks it into anthill and pulls out ants and eats the ants, that's the beginnings of tool making. So I thought that was really intriguing. And basically this just growing down here. So it scraped the mushroom, grabbed some of this. Like I said, it's in the middle of winter and this structure pops up. Now I think at this point it's really important for me to just stick to facts. And so I'm going to try to do that. So this structure was a really elaborate structure. Even today, you can look and see there's no cut marks on this, on any of these limbs. I'm imagining it was gathered right here and it was braced between this tree and this tree. And what I'll do on the first comment, I'll post a picture of what it looked like. There was never a fire here. Okay. So obviously the first thing you have to think of, you know, is could a person done this? Well, obviously yes. But then you got to look at all the facts too. All right, this is on a weeknight in the middle of February. It's 7 degrees out. This is not a public area. You don't have Joe Schmo coming back here. This whole area is surrounded by private property. So you'd have to basically sneak through someone's yard, come back here. It's a no hunting zone. Okay, it's a preserve. There should never be any hunters out here. And there's not. So the structure, you know, you start thinking of a survivalist, you know. Well, the first rule of thumb is you have to get off the ground. So you build up the bottom so you're not actually, your body loses heat if you're laying flat on the ground. There's none of that. You know, there's leaves here, but look, you know, this is two seasons ago. There was nothing here. It didn't protect you from any kind of rain, and it didn't protect you from any kind of wind. It really was a pretty useless structure for a human for shelter, you know. And when you see the old picture, you know, just think about it. Would you want to sleep in that? So whatever built this was out here February, middle of winter, 7 degrees out on a weeknight. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, you know. Knowing that I was here the day before, right before dark, come back the next day and this is built. It was obviously built at night. So I watched this. I watched all of these actually, but I watched, you know, this for a year, over a year, every single day. And the conclusion, in our opinion, nothing ever returned to this after that first night. This structure basically started, you know, falling down slowly, you know, and nothing ever repaired it, nothing ever came back in it, nothing. It led me to believe, and not just with this one, we're talking 18 in total, was never returned to, ever. I and Eric, we strongly believe from what the data that we've collected, that took a year of watching this every day. That's nothing to it. It was for one night only. It built it and it never returned. It's on the ground. I mean, that's what you get from it. And the reason we mention this is because we've made the same mistake. You go out in the woods and you find a structure and you think, you know, I'm in a great area, and chances are you know, it's a crapshoot. Is it a? It's more than likely, I would say 99%, that thing's long gone. That structure was built for a night and it's moved on. Because that's at least what happens here. This area here is about 65 acres. There's not enough area to sustain life for something living back here. Nothing lives back here. Things move through here, maybe for a night, maybe for 3 nights, but there's not enough habitat to sustain something that long, you know, that big anyway. But this is connected to about 1,000 other acres, so the cycle would be about every 6 weeks I would see some activity out here. And you know, after the first 2 months, no other structure never popped up. So that's just food for thought. You know, is it seasonal? Is it, you know, why those 2 months? There were other things that popped up, nothing elaborate. It was very, very primitive shelters that would pop up. And like, you know, I don't want to keep saying it, but I know this because I walked it every day. I seen them pop up overnight. Every single one of these. And I also saw that nothing ever returned, nothing ever lived in it. You know, I can tell if something was even sitting in the leaf litter. You know, it wasn't. It was like it was abandoned. And, you know, that led me after a year that it never returned to this spot. So you got to think about that when you're out in the woods and you find a structure like this. That does not mean that they're living back there. I know there's going to be a lot of people that probably disagree with this. It's probably might be controversial. All I can tell you, that's what we've learned by staying actually out here for a year. That's what we came back. Those are the facts. Nothing was cut. There was never human activity. Actually, in the course of that year, I never saw one single person back here, ever. Just the last few months ago, someone put some trail cams up here. But that was well after, you know, this research project. So it's just some food for thought. And the same thing, there's this down at the base of this tree right here. That structure's fallen in, you know. This was like this encampment is what I called it. You know, it was made of V. The first go around, 10 structures, made a V with 8 structures the next time. And then the structure making was done for the year. Again, I guess you gotta look at the big picture. It's a little easier for me because I'm out here. I know that there's not Boy Scouts up here building shelters. There's not kids out here. There's nothing. I know how hard it is for the public to get in here. You know, I'm not a guy that just jumps to conclusions. I mean, this probably went on a year before I even started researching up here, because I just wanted to see. I was seeing stuff, but I just wanted to really, you know, I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I just kind of watched this whole area until I thought, you know what, I think something is traveling through here. And so me and Eric, you know, we talked, and you know, this is old information for us, but we've never shared it, and maybe it'll be helpful in your research. It's at least something to consider. It doesn't mean that at your house or your property it might be completely different. The one thing I tried to do was, I was on this 6-week cycle of seeing prints, activity. So I was trying to be here every 6 weeks, you know, and it was so hard to pinpoint, because it wasn't an exact thing. It was just around 6 weeks. So, you know, I've got to work. You know, I can't be out here at 1 in the morning on a Tuesday night, you know, every 6 weeks. And it's so unpredictable when it would happen, but it was about a month, well, just over a month. Sometimes it'd be 4 weeks, you know, but something would come through here, you know. As far as, you know, there's still some baffling questions for me more than ever. Why go through all the time to build this, never to return? Why build this if you're only staying in it for a few hours? Because during the day, out of the course of over a year, actually the entire time I've been back here, I've had maybe 5 or 6 times that I felt I wasn't alone during the day. So, you know, where do they go? You know, because obviously I don't even think anything was in this, to be honest with you. I never saw signs that something actually stayed in this. It's kind of baffling. You know, I guess when I first saw it, I thought, well, maybe it sat in there for the night and made some cover. This one down here, where the fallen tree is, occasionally there's you go inside of there, there's like 3 sticks, and I would count those sticks every day. You know, I just kind of, and they would move. Every once in a while, there would only be 2 sticks. Then there'd be 1, and then there'd be 3 again. So there was a little bit of activity in there, but not much. So, you know, it's still some serious questions as far as what we've learned about this, and, you know, what's going on. Where are they the rest of the time? Are they cruising through here at 11 o'clock, staying till 3 in the morning and moving on, and then taking the time to build something like this? I don't know. I mean, that's certainly something that I consider now. Why? You know, much more likely shelter that I've discovered in the last year is really more something like this. This is pretty primitive, but this has definitely been added to. There used to be several sticks, and I actually think they liked to be able to climb up there as a lookout. Maybe it was sitting here. You know, all these logs have changed. That used to be stacked up. All these sticks on the ground used to be like this. And maybe it was sitting here. Maybe it built that up there as a blind in case there was a sound. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of things to consider. But I guess the only thing we want you to come away with is just because you find a structure out in the woods doesn't mean it's living there, doesn't mean it's sleeping there, and certainly doesn't mean it cares at all about it. It could very well just be a one-night deal and move on. We don't know that, but right now that's what my research has led on this particular scenario. I mean, me and Eric spent, I think, a lot of time out here researching this. I've got over 10,000 photo library of just taking pictures, you know, every day. And I didn't post a lot because most of the time there was nothing to post. You know, it's pretty benign. Only the time where things were added and stuff is usually when I'd post a video. Because, you know, people get really bored if it's like, nothing to report, nothing to report. But I still did it, because you have to. You know, you have to, if you really want to dive into this, you know, I had to do the work to monitor it, you know, so I just made a hike out of it, and that's what I did every day. Rain, snow, it didn't matter. I made sure I got my butt out here and walk this 65 acres. And You know, obviously, like I said before, this 65 acres ties into about another 1,000. But this was a little bottleneck, you know. That's a little area I could kind of keep track of. You know, it's actually a great little research area, because I've memorized a lot of this. I can tell you, you know, sticks that were on the ground that are now up in a tree. You know, and I can show you pictures. You know, that's signs of activity too. You know, a fallen stick, something like this, just laying on the ground for 6 months, and all of a sudden it's leaning up against a tree. Why, that's odd. And the only way you would ever know that even happened was if you were out here to see it, you know, the day before, the weeks before, you know. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, that's weird. How'd that tree get up there? That stuff does happen. I found on occasion huge scat piles, 2 foot long. That's the other thing. By being out here for every year, there's no bears here. There's never been bears here. There's never been a sign of bear. So I don't know in Ohio if you roll out bear. You can even roll out cats. You know, I've never seen a cat print out here. I've never seen a bear print. I've tracked bears. I know how to do it. I know what it looks like. But to find these 2 foot long scat piles in this area is extremely interesting to me. You know, if you lived here and you knew the area, you'd be like, yeah, we don't have bear here. Like, you can't explain it. It's not horses. You know, there's not even a trail, all right, in this whole area. It's not a public place. So it rules out a lot, and it's very intriguing. So that's just a little smidge of what we learned over the last year. There's a lot of stuff where we feel like we know, but you almost, you know, you have to go another year to really make sure before you make a claim. This, we're very confident. Here, nothing. Something built these structures and never came back. I mean, that's the bottom line. We feel like we can say that now, because we've done the research behind it. We've documented it with pictures, and that's the facts. You know, for here, again, I say for here, that's the facts. I don't know. I'm not going to claim other people's areas. I just know here. I mean, look at this thing. It's on the ground. Nothing ever returned. You wouldn't even know that there was an elaborate structure there now. So that's some food for thought for everybody. Again, I hope everybody has a happy Easter weekend. And I hope you can use this knowledge and some of the stuff that we've learned in your own section of the world, and see if we're right. You know, if you have the time and you have, you know, the ability, if you really want to dive into this, spend an entire year out here, and I promise you, you will see the woods in an entirely different set of eyes. There's no doubt that your opinion of the woods and what you'll learn, even about life in the woods, you know, it's well worth it if you have the time to do it. And if it happens to be an active area, you're gonna learn a lot about the activity and separate myth from facts. So y'all have a good weekend, and I will talk to you soon.